be humble. We're all learning every day. We're learning. I've have a lot of experience. I've done a lot of stuff, but there's not a day that I don't go to a job site that I don't learn something new. And I think we should always be in a learning mode.
Hey, welcome to All Things Wood Floor. I'm your host, Steve Diggins of Specialty Forest Products, here for you courtesy of my flooring family at Wood Floor Business. Today, All Things Wood Floor is brought to you by our guest, Canlak Coatings. Canlak is the name behind trusted wood flooring finishes and brands like Absco, Poloplaz, Sampson, and Wilson Imperial. I'll be joined shortly by two brilliant industry professionals, Laura Posadas and Doug McGrew. We'll be talking about all things floor finish, the chemistry, the manufacturing, sporting, residential. We're happy to share all that we learn here with you, flooring's best and brightest, because we appreciate you, we love you, and you all keep our industry moving. Floor pros around the world, let's do this together. Welcome, Canlak Coatings. This is All Things Wood Floor. Now let's get to it. Okay, good morning, Laura Posadas and Doug McGrew from Canlak Coatings. Welcome to All Things Wood Floor.
Hi, Stephen. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, Doug. Before I jump into everything, just a few things. Canlak is now part of the Two Timers Club, so you're like the Tom Hanks and Tina Fey of Saturday Night Live. So we've got you in here. This is good because this is a whole other side of the business that we spoke about from last time. Correct me if I've done my homework wrong. I'm a distributor, so I do work with Canlak, and there's a lot of products that Doug's going to probably talk to us about. But from what my interpretation would be, Canlak is one of probably the nation's largest formulators, manufacturers of floor coatings, and you guys cover everything from commercial to sports to, I think, cabinetry, furniture. You've got UV cured. I believe you'll help me out, but that you're involved in pre-finish applications, lacquers and varnishes, etc. Is that a good place for me to start? Does that sound like I did my homework?
Absolutely. And maybe I'll give a little bit more of an overview. So Canlak, we're a developer and a manufacturer of high-performance wood coatings. We're proud to focus on innovation and quality while still being collaborative and customer-centric. We do support a multitude of technologies. You mentioned some of them, whether it's water, solvent, or UV technology. We also focus on two major segments, and I'm sort of lumping them together. One is the industrial segment, which does include cabinetry, flooring, and panels. And then the second one is our on-site flooring segment, which would include residential, commercial, and then sport. And finally, our teams, we're everywhere in the U.S. and Canada where our customers are, and we're very familiar whether you are a distributor or a manufacturer or a contractor.
So, Laura, give me a quick little, where are you? Where do you live? Where are you located? Because I know you've got North American Canlak, you've got European Canlak. Where are you? What's up? What's happened? Tell me a little bit about just you yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Laura Posadas. I'm currently the president and CEO of Canlak Coatings. I started with Canlak in October of 2024, so a little over 6 months. I'm a chemist by education, but my first job, I was a chemical engineer. What I realized after about working 2 years, I loved the customer side and working with the products, hand in hand with our partners. And so I quickly made the transition to the commercial side of the business. I've been on that side for over 25 years, sales, business development strategy, business management. I've always been in specialty chemical throughout my 25 years. So I've worked for companies like National Starch and Chemical, ExxonMobil, Hinkle, and BP. And now I'm with Canlak. I've been pretty much a remote worker most of my life, and I'm currently living in Cincinnati, Ohio. But our U.S. headquarters for Canlak is in North Brunswick, New Jersey, and in Quebec, in Canada, for our Canadian operations. So Daveville, about an hour and a half outside of Montreal.
I think you've landed on the mothership. I do podcasts with everybody around the world, and almost 95% of them will say they started in the Ohio area. All of them. Howard Brickman from Massachusetts. Where did you start? Cleveland. So it must be some type of mecca. And Doug, you could probably attest to that. Doug McGrew, you're the director of sales. And also tell me, I'm not familiar with the on-site flooring part of it. I don't know if that's what you do on-site or if it's actually a divisional title. So tell me a little bit like Laura did about you, where you're from, what's happened.
So my name's Doug McGrew. I am the director of sales for the on-site flooring. As Laura mentioned, we basically have two major segments, the industrial and the on-site. I run the on-site program, which consists of residential, your traditional brick and mortar distributors like you work at that sell to residential contractors. We have a sports side that sells to sport contractors and sport customers. And then we also have our trade or commercial business where we sell to people like Ace, True Value, the little mom and pop hardware stores. A little bit about me. So I started out in the construction industry 20 some years ago. I was a tract developer, building houses. Um, Started doing some of the wood floors in the houses we were building. Realized I have a love for it. Kind of transitioned into me becoming a wood floor contractor. About 13, 14 years ago, I got the opportunity to transition to the manufacturer side of the business. Took a position with machine manufacturer. Did that for several years. Eventually ran their sport program. And in August of 22, I came to Canlak as a sports salesman and now running that and the residential all through the on-site floor program.
Now, the Absco branding, from that I know, it's Absco, Poloplast, Samson, Last and Last, what Wilson Imperial. I'm going to miss one. Pure Skate and Court Sense. Do I have most of them? Some of them?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know Canlac until you look at the product. And like in our area, Absco is a big deal. Poloplast is a big deal. Some of these different products, etc. And it's interesting, both of you, it doesn't matter where on your resume once hardwood flooring hits it, yeah, you're in. There's no getting out. You're on it. I don't care what.
The other thing I'll add there, I actually live in West Virginia, but I'm only 10 miles from Ohio. So I still kind of fall into that Ohio story. So
you'd safely cross the border. Like here in New Hampshire,
yes.
we get that thing called Massachusetts, but live free or die just 20 minutes north, we got New Hampshire going for us. So, Laura, let's go back to you for a second. Looking over some of the notes from Wood Floor Business and magazine articles and things that you've done, you've had a pretty impressive career with leadership roles in the chemistry industry. So at what point with all that do you look at Canlac and decide that that's exciting and you want to go lead that company? What got you to go there?
Absolutely. When I was first proposed Canlac, a couple things that are really important to me: brand, technology, value prop, recognition, things that we can put in the hands of our customer and consumer, and it makes a difference. There's differentiation there. And so as I started researching and understanding all of the acquisitions of Canlac, and you mentioned the brands, right? These are brands that are extremely important to the industry and have a ton of heritage and long equity. That got me excited. I also started looking at the growth opportunity in this business, and it's plentiful. And that just is exciting to lead and to continue to develop through innovation, finding, new products and adjacencies to drive growth.
It's about years ago, they would talk about all these famous foods and restaurants and places we know. We didn't know that they were brought to you by Beatrice. Like, what's a Beatrice? Same with Canlac. If you look at your product lines, you go, oh, those are household names. In flooring, they're household names. There's no doubt about it. Can you explain a little bit for those that don't know the vernacular? When you say the value prop, what are we talking about?
So our value proposition, it's really combining really strong brands, so products that we offer in the industry attached to really strong customer service. So we don't just give our customers the products and say, this is how you do it. We will actually be with them to do it. And that includes both on the industrial side of the business as well as our on-site. So we believe pairing good products and really great service is a good offering to our customers. Means that they're going to optimize the products to its fullest and hopefully have some really good cost savings and final quality support to our teams.
Under your new leadership, are you responsible for just Canlac, or are there other parts of the company that you're responsible for as well? Are there different divisions?
So Just as an overview, and then Doug will jump in a little bit more on the value prop. So Canlak has both the industrial side, so our OEM, and then our on-site flooring. So I am responsible for both. Doug has responsibility for the on-site.
And I got a follow-up question, but Doug, do you want to talk a little bit about the value prop? So you're going to jump in there.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the biggest things we bring is, we have some of the best industry experts in both residential and sport and trade working for us. If you're in one of those businesses, you're gonna know the people we have working for us. We have a great team, talented team. And what this enables us to react to customer situations and find them what they need for their particular job or project that they're working on and provide solutions for their needs. And we have a complete comprehensive line of products for both residential and sport. We cover all the BOC levels. So no matter where you're at or how you're impacted, we have something in either water or solvent technologies that will give you the product you need to complete your project.
So go back to you, Laura. So your day-to-day, what does it look like for you?
It is a variety. Every week is different, and which, by the way, I love. So whether I am managing shareholders and stakeholders or whether I'm out in the industry, we just had a trade show last week, NWFA, and I had the opportunity of being there for 3 days, walking in through the trade show, talking to customers, trying to find solutions. And that's the fun part of it day to day. I'm also spending a lot of time with our teams, whether it's in our manufacturing plants to make sure that we're optimizing the quality and the service that we're providing coming out of the facilities, or working with our R&D teams and finding innovative ways to maybe do things slightly different. So I'm very fortunate. My entire week is different every single week, but it's always aimed at driving growth and giving the highest level of customer satisfaction.
So down at the NWFA show, I saw you both down there, and I just said hello quick because you were super busy. So, Laura, did you give Doug all the VOC 250, 350 shrapnel that was probably thrown your way? Did you let him handle all that stuff, or what?
Yes.
Yeah, he's laughing.
He's the expert there.
We're going to get into that.
But it's a very big topic, and we're well prepared.
Yeah, so Doug, that goes to you. Canlak specializes in hardwood flooring finishes in that division, and I've sold them forever. But when you're talking about your products and competitively what's out there, what makes the chemistry behind your coatings so crucial? What is it in the chemistry of what you do? And we can explain over whatever products that gets you the durability and the aesthetics, because as we both know, there's these arguments. I have more solids, I have less solids, my sheen's different. There's all this technical jargon that gets thrown around, but what is the chemistry behind a Canlak finish that makes it crucial?
So I would say, we've bought a lot of very good legacy brands, and we've taken good products that they have. We have a great R&D team, and we have kept them or improved all of them. As we know, it's a constantly changing world in which more water is becoming a big thing. VOC restrictions are a big thing. And so we've had to adjust. And our chemistry department is top notch. And we were able to take, because of the broadness of Canlak, we're able to take technologies from other sectors of Canlak, such as the industrial, and incorporate them to find new solutions for our problems that maybe if we were just narrowly focused on one sector, we wouldn't be able to do. A great example of that is Red X started out as an industrial product, and it's, I believe, the only single component, one use, easy to do paint blocker. I know there's others out there. Some of them are a little more complicated. Ours is very easy to put down. And, we're seeing prices of white oak, at record highs all the time. And but that's the look people want. And so here we were able to take something from a different sector and provide a solution to our customers.
That's fascinating, because I've run into this as a consultant and inspector. You come out with a red out product. For years, we would use a wood bleach, and people talk about pickling, which there is no formula. There's 1,000 different reasons how to do that. It's fascinating that you have a single component, because it doesn't sound like it has to be neutralized. But what I see in the field is you do something like this, and it's a gift to the flooring people, because for 100 and something years, there was about one lumberyard every 2 hours, and they had red oak, and that was it. So everybody in their home forever has been trying to match reds. And if you're a designer or an interior decorator, reds don't go with anything. So with white oak being such a beautiful product, it is cool to be able to do that, especially in a single component. Have you found, and I've seen this out there, people went from let's use red out to let's put it on anything. I've had people put it on white oak. I've had people put it on Brazilian cherry. Right now with your product, are we talking this is a red oak product? Where is it at? Explain a little bit of it to me.
So what it is, it's a one component that you roll on, and it just changes the color of the wood. We personally have not tried it on other woods. That doesn't mean that I know how floor guys are. They like to play around,
Yeah.
but it's just a top coat. It doesn't do any damage to the wood. Like you said, there's no need to neutralize it. So, I encourage all of our customers, take it and try it on some sample boards first, as always, but yeah, it has unlimited uses.
So you know where they want to use this. Someone goes in, does a patch job, calls me and goes, I think I grabbed the wrong wood, or the treads don't match. Can you isolate a segment of a patch possibly and use that product and have some?
Yeah, that's something that could possibly be done, always just tape it off, but it's just a coating. So,
Not a treatment. It's a coating.
yeah.
So once it's down, what's the next step? Straight to poly or?
Yeah, so it depends. So you can do one of two things. Once it's down and dry, if you want to use it like a light stain, like a white or like a very light gray, some of these new trendy stains, you would just stain right over it. And then once the stain's dry, you're just going to take a maroon pad and buff it and then go straight to your poly. If you don't want to use a stain, you would put the poly directly over it and then maroon pad your poly.
Well, that's interesting. So, Laura, I'll have questions coming for your way, but while I get Doug on a technical role, looking overall at Canlak for years, one of the things about you folks, and you're always hanging in there, is on your innovation. Whenever a rep comes around, they always have ideas about what's new, what's developing, what's happening. You just brought up your newest product. When you're pushing these boundaries in flooring finishing and advancements, and the curves you've been thrown, 250 VOC, 350 VOC, quarts, not 5-gallon containers, gallons, not 5-gallon containers. Do you see any improvements or advancements coming forward that you're looking ahead to in floor finishing?
Yeah. So one thing I will say, we're always trying to be on the breaking edge. We're working on new products constantly. We're involving key leaders in the industry in our testing and making sure that we're going in the right direction, having discussions with key people in the industry. We want to provide the contractor with solutions to problems. And we feel the best way to do that is to involve them. So we'll be reaching out to contractors all the time. Our salespeople are reaching out to contractors. And as we have new products, which we are constantly working on, we involve them. Sometimes it's a home run and sometimes it needs a tweak, but that's what they're for. And, when we release the product to the general public, that it's where it needs to be and is going to provide them with what they need.
Both you, and let's start with Laura. Do you think specifically that Canlak is bringing a certain value to their market and like service, products, technical? They always say product, service, quality, price, pick two. What is it they think that Canlak under your direction is bringing to the market for Doug's consumers?
I think there's two major trends right now, and it does not matter what business you're in, whether you're coders, whether you're a distributor, a contractor, a manufacturer. Everybody is looking to drive efficiency. And we are very fortunate that, we have products to help our customers do their jobs faster and reduce waste. So Fast Track in our sports side of our business is a perfect example where we can use a product that has one coat versus two, which allows people to get the job done faster at a higher quality and reduce waste. So that would be one attacking the labor efficiencies. The one that goes along with that is cost. Again, doesn't matter the business you're in, everybody's trying to manage costs. And I think we do a good job of helping to control costs and improve cash. And a perfect example, and Doug mentioned this at the beginning, we have a lot of different brands that allow us to do a good, better, best type of brand ladder. So we can accommodate any customer consumer need to meet their cost and quality need. And then you tack on our service. So making sure that our technical teams are working with our partners to optimize the brand, you have the best solution then available in the market.
Doug, you think when you're in your R&D, when you're looking at single components, so when you're getting away from isocyanates, aziridines, if you're not into catalyst and hardeners, et cetera, is the technology there that we're going to get as strong a surface, with Tabor abrasion testing, wearability, all that, is the finish going to wear as well in single component products? It seems that's where it's going.
Yeah, I think that's where the market is headed, and we're trying to get there. I think you'll see it get very close, if not as good, to the two components. But it takes the customer demand to make it happen. It will not be probably the price point single component that you know now, but it will be, void of some of the chemicals that people don't like putting down in their houses. And it's easy, and you don't have to worry, well, I need a fourth of a jug. How am I going to mix that up? And you're not going to have the waste. So in the end, you're going to see it provide cost savings there too. The other thing I'd like to kind of touch on that she hit, I think Fast Track's a great thing for the sport industry. I think as we all know, when we all played basketball or t-ball as kids, when we were kids, you played for 5 or 6 weeks and then it's done till next year. Now we're seeing sports go year round. Basketball is no different. They're playing year round. They're having summer camps. It's becoming much more difficult to fill schedules and get in there and put recoat down and still get the players in. And what Fast Track does, it allows you to go in one day and do your recoat, which many products you can. The difference with Fast Track is the return to service. It's 24 hours. So you can go in on a Saturday and do it, and they can be back on it on Monday. This allows schools, even if they want a recoat in the middle of basketball season in February. We have customers that do that for school districts. And it extends your season, makes you more efficient as a contractor, and not trying to cram a year's worth of work into 2 months.
This podcast is brought to you by Canlak Coatings, the name behind trusted wood floor finish brands like Absco, Poloplaz, Samson, and Wilson Imperial. Known for industry-leading durability, clarity, and ease of application, Canlak Coatings offers top-tier technical service and a commitment to advancing water-based technologies. Their full range of coatings is built for pros who demand performance. So whether you're finishing a gym floor or a luxury home, Canlak Coatings delivers results you can count on. When it comes to wood floor finishes, trust the brands that finish strong. Learn more at www.canlakcoatings.com.
I voluntarily do gym lines for the YMCA and some of the youth clubs and that. And there's one thing people forget. When the basketball is over and all these things are over, there's nothing over. The schools will have emergency meetings. They'll have voting on those gymnasium floors. Some places do not cover them. My high school did donkey basketball. People bring in live donkeys and they play basketball on your floor. So I'm sure that drives people like you crazy. But it seems like with the evolution of finishes, and let me ask you this, because technically I want this question answered. I just guessed this, but over the years, I've seen water-based finishes, which no one wanted to use, but eventually with the VOC laws, they had to go somewhere. The biggest change I noticed was, as a distributor, everything I sell, from a 2-component water to single component water to an oil, has now been changed, if you read the instructions, to a flow rate of about 500 square feet. So it used to be someone used a really thin water-based product, you'd squeegee it out and say, I got 1,200 feet out of a gallon. And although the floor was coated, it wasn't enough to protect it. Is there a concerted effort in the chemistry of this to get people to get out there and use the proper flow rates for all the finishes to kind of take that technical aspect away from the hardwood flooring people and make it a little easy for them?
So I think we have seen, I still hear customers claiming they're getting 1,000 feet, not out of our product, but others. But when you go look at it, the product is not designed for that. I think having an average flow rate is good. We have some variances in ours, Fast Track being one of them. Fast Track's only 400 square feet per gallon. However, it's a one coat product. And from a dry mill standpoint, if you take ours or any of our competitors' two component water bases, they're going to fill in at about zero point 0.9 to 0.95 dry mills per coat, which works out to 1.8, 1.9 dry mills total. Fast Track fills in at 2 to 2.1 dry mills. So what happens is, even though you're putting a little less per square foot, your total you're gaining that in your mill thickness and your wear layer and your durability.
It seems like the
So
chemistry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
so I would say, and our team is very experienced in this. Talk to your reps when you're putting your coatings down. Make sure you are achieving the correct film thickness and the coverage rates,
When I
because
was a boy,
there is.
like I'm an armadillo now. The thing was, you'd go get somebody's roller skates, which were steel, and we built this thing called the skateboard, and you would leave metal dust everywhere. Somewhere in the 80s, they came out with the polyurethane skateboard wheel. I still have that skateboard in my shed. My son uses it. Is that the finish technology? Let's not make it super hard and dense and brittle like a lot of pre-finished floors. Let's make it a little more elastomeric, almost like your tires are rubber. Do you want a little give in the finish so that you don't get white line syndrome or fracturing?
Yeah, so I mean, white line is actually, I think, believed caused by too soft a finish, and it stretches but doesn't bounce back. But all your sport coatings, there's actual tolerances for the slip coefficient and various other things, because you don't want kids slipping and falling if they're too slick. But if they're too sticky, you blow knees out. So there is the sweet spot on your sport coatings for where they should be. And we make sure all of our products are in line with that. We do testing not only in-house for all those factors, but we use third-party labs as well to make sure that we're meeting the criteria for that.
Is there an actual rating, a slip coefficient of slip resistance rating that they expect in a gymnasium setting, in a floor setting?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know right off.
But there is a number, and you can spec
Yes.
it. And okay.
Yeah, and it's a closed-in number. Once you get below a certain level, it's out of spec, and once you get above a certain level, it's out of spec. It's a band in the middle that you have to hit.
You think we've come far enough away from the oil finishes? Not that people won't use them, but are we there now? Oil, water, oil. It seems like I sell a lot of water.
We're seeing the move. Yeah, we're seeing the move away from oil. Oil will never go away.
No.
It still has its purposes, but yeah, we are seeing a shift, and our R&D is focused on that a lot to make sure that not only that we're providing the products in water, but oil has some nice properties, and people like that. So we want to make sure, as we develop new water products, that they have those same properties. Fast Track's another great example. It's more of a kind of touchy-feely thing, but if you talk to basketball players, oil has a different feel playing than water. Most of them will tell you that Fast Track plays like an oil. It's while both the oil and water are in the spec, it's that professional feel that they like.
That's tough. I did some work with the Boston Ballet Company, and the tap people they came up and met at my place. They were arguing the ballet people have a different idea how the floor should perform from the tap people, or actors that use the stage. They want to slide, they want to slip. That technical part of it gets a little crazy. I've got a ton of questions for you technically, but I'm going to move back to Laura for a second. Let's talk a little business. In our industry, in the hardwood flooring industry, are you navigating or observing any particular trends or changes that are happening right now that you've got to focus on?
I actually mentioned a few of them that are probably most critical. So technology, the shift from oil to water by far is one that we are managing from an R&D. We're good though, because, although our heritage sits a lot in oil, we have a ton of products that are available on the water side, and we continue to innovate on this side as well. We talked about regulations. The VOCs, they're not going higher, they're going lower. And so we're very fortunate to have products to meet the VOC needs of our customers. We talked about labor efficiencies. I think that will continue to be important. Everybody wants to do things faster and at lower costs. So I think another one would be cost, and we're trying to do that internally. How do we control our costs so that we can pass that through and help our customers manage their costs as well? I think the final one is innovation. And Doug actually gave a great example. We're not just staying focused on one of our segments. We are actively working with all of our customers and then pulling through some of those innovative ideas from industrial into on-site and vice versa to the other side. The other thing is, I think as we bring and grow our business, we're bringing people in from outside of just the on-site flooring or the wood flooring. And so they're bringing different perspective. Have we considered this from a different type of coating application to see if that could potentially work and be innovative in this side? So I think we've hit a lot of the big ones. And our teams internally are just focused on how we can differentiate and improve the service to our customers.
I'm assuming that if you're working with the North American division, and I know you're out of, what is it? Is it New Brunswick, New Jersey? New Brunswick, New Jersey?
Correct.
Okay. Involved in all of this with the U.S. and Canada, are you seeing tariff impacts? Because we see them half the day, part of the day, 2 days, 1 day. Where is that at with you folks?
Wow, hasn't this been fast moving and ever changing?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. So this is something that we have been managing since October-ish, when it became, very clear that this was going to be something that we would need to address. So Canlak's been very, very front-footed to understand impacts, not only internally to ourselves, but externally to our customers. We've been proactively communicating to our customers how we will handle these impacts and how they would like for us to handle these. Of course, if and when we will see them. And we've seen a lot of ebb and flow. February, they came on, they went off. We now have them on in April. So we've spent a lot of time talking about mitigation. But I will say that through all of our investigations, we've actually found things that we need to be doing anyways to make Canlak more resilient as a company and to improve our customer service. This could be things like changing manufacturing locations to get closer to our customers, putting in different types of contingency plans, dual sourcing both locally and globally to control costs. And we're doing all of this to make sure that there's very little impact to our customers now and obviously in the future. But right now, we're very fortunate that the impact is minimal, and that's what we're hoping to continue to do by controlling a lot of these things internally.
You talk about sourcing products, and I'll talk with vendors, and I've worked in labs with different chemical companies, past and present, and they all seem to talk about the components for polyurethanes and for finishes, et cetera, and for coatings. They usually, the discussion is about resins. And I've heard everything from, well, there's only one in the world, there's two in the world, that goes to the big companies. What is the deal with resins and the products that you need to make what you make? You're a big company, you're making a lot of product. How do you get a hold of all these things? What is the chemistry to that?
Yeah. I've actually spent a lot of time with our resin suppliers over the last month, understanding what's going to be the impact of tariffs and supply constraints in general, which usually follow any type of price instability. And we're very fortunate that we do have good relationships with a variety of different resin suppliers, whether it's directly with them, whether it could be through a distribution channel. So it allows us to make sure that our supply is strong. You're absolutely right. There's been consolidation in the industry over the last 20 years. The big get bigger to drive scale, to control costs. And so that is just something that we need to navigate. We need to understand that, they will be in the best position possible to drive supply. And listen, that's the biggest thing we keep saying to customers. Pricing may increase. Supply is going to be most critical. We need to have stability and make sure that we can supply our customers so that they can stay in business and continue to drive their growth agenda. And that's why I'm spending a lot of time with our suppliers, is to ensure the supply stability for our customers.
From looking at your profile, I know that part of your job focus is strategic growth. So let me play Posadas for us for a second and project out for me. Where do you see any place the hardwood flooring industry is heading in the next few years? that's different? So whether it's sales or marketing or production, you're looking and going, wow, this is where we're going. This is someplace strategically we might need to be or grow better at. Is that something you look when you're projecting ahead?
Absolutely. So I'm doing a 5-year forecast right now for our shareholders and stakeholders. So actually at the trade show last week, I was asking a lot of those questions to our customers of where do they see their business? Where are they trying to penetrate new markets? Where should we be starting to drive investment? I asked a lot of questions about marketing to some of the distributors and contractors. Do they see more traditional trade marketing? Are they starting to see a shift in the digital side of it? And believe it or not, Stephen, I got a variety of answers depending on their end use, their customers, and just where their business model sits. So what that's telling me is we need to be awfully agile over the next few years as we see this shift in marketing and go to market and potentially new market segments that might come to play. I think as Canlac, we're a big company, but we're also a small company. We can adjust and be pretty agile and change to all of the different dynamics a lot more than, big global companies can.
It's fun being big fish in a small pond.
Love it.
The creativity is there. I want to ask you another question, and both of you can field this one out, and then I got to switch back. I got some things for Doug I want to go back to, but when you're looking at sustainability and you look at Canlak's profile, and you do a lot for your constituents, the public, your chemistry, you're very careful about the rules and guidelines and how you operate, and then chemical manufacturers just opening the doors, you can get a bad rap. You got to really be conscious of these things. How does sustainability, play into Canlak's approach in product development?
This is actually one area that I'm bringing more into Canlac. We just finished our ESG reporting for our private equity company, and it's 102 questions that we have to answer on how we are, being a good business for ourselves, our community, and for our customers. So we look at anything from air emissions, we look at quality, we look at waste, and we are constantly benchmarking ourselves versus our competition. Safety is a big one that we are looking both internally and externally. I'm actually excited that this year we are planning to release our first ESG report to benchmark where we are now and where we want to be in the future. So I believe ESG is something that you need to do as a company. It's the right thing to do. And it's important in the areas that we operate, in areas like Minneapolis and in New Jersey. We are guided and we must operate under certain guidelines, but those are just guidelines. I believe we should do better for our people and for our customers. So more to come on this one.
Well, I visited, a plant once, and it was kind of funny because when you got to the back of the plant, there was two guys sitting on 5-gallon pails of poly, taking a cigarette break with a fire hose, and gravity was feeding the poly in the buckets. They would mark it with a marker, fill it, crimp it, and say, "We sell polyurethane." That is not what you folks do. Doug, when you're looking at the fact that, like Laura points out, you got to be eco-friendly, there's environmental impact from what you do, you've got regulations. How do you guys work together to make sure that you're still going to get a durable, high-performing product at the end of the day? Some of those that chemistry used to be what made floors tough and resilient in this. And I will say, no one ever wanted to touch a 350 pail of VOC or 250. And in the last 10 years, it's become a treat. Like they perform way better. How do you balance that, the chemistry and the eco-friendly part of it?
So I'll go back to, just like I've mentioned earlier, we have a great R&D lab. We have several formulary chemists that just really know what they're doing in this market. And, it's all give and take, and you have to find out what you can give and take from each to maintain the durability and what your customers are expecting while making a better product that's more sustainable and less toxic. Who would have thought 20 years ago that, you wouldn't be using moisture cure all the time? We still have some people that do it, but it's going away. And what we have is now a 350 moisture cure product, not as toxic. It's still moisture cure, but but it still has the same durability that you would expect from a 900 VOC moisture
Well,
cure.
listeners are going to want to hear that because that no one ever wanted to use that stuff. It's just that if anybody found out how durable, you could probably ice skate on the stuff. So that's interesting that name's even coming
Yep.
back. The problem that we had was even if we wanted to sell lacquers and finishes like that, we had to have special lockers and they're flammable. And it seems like if you're going to go in this other direction, maybe we can use those really durable products without that kind of harm.
Yeah. And I think that's where you're seeing the switch to water base because once again, 20, 30 years ago, water base wouldn't have held up for a taillight warranty, as we like to say in the industry. And that's not the case anymore. You're seeing even in the single components. And I think like you said, we're going to see a lot more in single components. There's ways of making single components as durable or more durable than the two components. I think Fast Track's a good example. I mean, this stuff is rock solid. It's the gloss level is off the charts on it. It holds up well. It plays well. And so I think that's where having a large company with a lot of resources and the ability to go between different industrial and commercial segments allows us to find the best path for sustainability and durability.
So break this down let's get into the trenches a bit. You're talking, you got residential and sport, because I've used your product in gymnasiums, racquetball courts, and then there's a lot of residential work. Is your basic outlet for these products the flooring trades, selling online information and technology, and also distributors? Like, what do you break these components into for your sales? Where do the products go? Where do you have to take yourself to educate your consumer, and who is that consumer?
So I would say most of our consumers are either going to be a residential or a sport floor contractor. We have multiple ways of educating them. We have a great sales force that's out in front of customers every day of the week. We have digital media. We still do print media, although we see that going away. But, a lot of people in our industry, they still like that tangible printed media. And we've listened to them and we still have it all available. You can download it and print it yourself. Most of the sales reps still have it. So if you want it in your either distribution or if you want a copy, just get a hold of one of our reps. They can walk you through any of our products. They can give you all the support you need. That's one thing we pride ourselves in is, our salesmen aren't there just to sell. They're there to educate and help the consumer, the contractor, learn how to use our products, learn how they can help them make their life easier. And just, it works good together.
It's real. I think it's great. Technology has been ridiculous, and I've been using AI like crazy lately for so many reasons. But just to have your product, MSDS sheets, STS sheets available online, where I used to have binders and binders and do nothing with them until somebody needed them. Then you're scrambling to make sure you can produce them. And a lot of times just having that safety data sheet, not only is it good for the consumer and for safety, et cetera, but sometimes someone will call me technically and say, I don't know how to clean this off my floor. I don't know how to thin this or clean my brushes. All that's there in the safety data sheet, the chemistry and the breakdown components. Let me ask you, go on the sports floor side of it. Tell me a little bit about what I'm hearing a lot about online, which is Pure Skate and is it Court Sense?
Yes.
I'd like to know about this.
So we've developed a couple new lines, kind of taking a tangent off of the sport line. So, we have a lot of great sport contractors. We make a lot of great products for them that get used, but there's still a section of business that, the school either does it themselves from a financial standpoint or a resource standpoint. And, we want them to be able to enjoy those same great products that, the other schools have. So we've developed a line of products called Court Sense that are available through the Jan Sand market. And those are going to be similar, though maybe not exact, to our professional products. And they're made in such a way that, janitorial staff, school staff, coaches can apply them and still get the same great products that they would expect from us. And then the Pure Skate products is our roller rink product. Roller skating is coming back, believe it or not. We're seeing it. it's very exciting. We want to be a part of it, and we feel that the industry needed a good quality coating, and I think we've stepped in with PureSkate. The industry has accepted it, and I think it's going to be a great thing.
I know, right?
Stephen, one point as well. You talked about having access to information. We've just recently revamped our website, canlakcoatings.com, to put all of this on. So if you go, it can be a contractor, distributor, manufacturer, end user. They can go on and easily access data sheets, how to do things. We'll be advancing it with videos because we know people will need things immediately at hand. And sometimes it might be 11 o'clock at night. And it's an easy way to get access and have a great resource for all of our customers. So,
Yeah, it's important because now people aren't even running home to their computer. It's on their phone. Everything's at their fingertips. Do you both think that there's any particular innovations that are coming through that you're excited about? Like, for instance, they talk about UV cured coatings and on-site UV cured coatings. Do you guys get involved in factory finishing, coating, pre-finishing, or these new technologies?
So we do UV coating, but it's in the factory line. We do not have on-site UV at this time. It doesn't mean that we aren't looking at it, but we have a great UV program on the other side of our business, and I'll probably let Laura expand on that a little bit more. That's a little bit out of my purview.
yeah, Stephen, we do a lot of UV on our industrial side of the business, primarily in flooring panels, that side. We have a great lab up in Daveyville. I think it's probably one of the best I've ever seen with that capability. We have multiple chemists that are looking at how we continue to advance. So different types of resins, different types of sheens and mats, and, what's going to be the next greatest thing that we can offer. We are certainly looking at how we can translate that from the industrial to the on-site. We have not found the interest yet to pull it through, but definitely, I see there's future in any type of technology if it's used appropriately and it has the final use properties that customers are looking for.
Doug, you've been in the field for years, so I want to throw just a few of these things at you. You dedicated your entire career to the wood flooring industry from what I've seen between LinkedIn and speaking with you. So what inspired that journey? Like, how did you get into gym floors, and how did that all shape your passion for the craft? Because you don't stay in this without a passion for what we do. Hardwood flooring has this little connection to us. Tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about
so
it.
from the time I was a small child, I still have a picture in my office of nailing my first nail with my grandfather. I think I was about 18 months. So there's just something about wood that's captivating. Like I said, I started out more as a home builder. I enjoyed turning a piece of raw land into a place for somebody to live. But then I started, doing the floors myself, and it's like that was even more rewarding. It's something that once you get it in your blood, it's hard to get out. I've done many things residentially, done some really crazy floors. That's always been fun. And, just always looking for the next thing. And, my wife's a school teacher. The school she was at, needed their floors redone. And I said, well, I can do that. It's a wood floor. So I got a quick learning lesson that sport floors are a wood floor, but they are a little different. But it was great, and I loved it too. And so I started doing more and more of that and transitioning into the sport world. And, it's all wood floors, but, they're done a little bit different. Maybe the products are a little different, but they're very similar.
Lord, you see all this stuff. Does this stuff that you have to absorb day after day after day? I don't know how many floors you've got stuck nailing or behind, but I get offended when people say, well, it's not rocket science. I go, well, you let me know when you have a $30,000 lawsuit on your hands. I'll tell you about rocket science. What he does is pretty tricky stuff. It's a whole other language, right?
It is, absolutely. And although I did not grow up in the wood flooring, my dad's been a woodworker his entire career. He built garages for our houses and, anything that would be needed. He was very hands-on. So I got to see the passion from my dad in doing and working with wood and being creative and the hard work and just the specificality of doing it and just the nuances. And now that I'm in it, awed by these guys, it takes a lot of dedication and precision to do it right.
Yeah, you get somebody from the trenches working with the lab rats. It's a big deal. It's fun to watch them get together because they're bringing together the chemistry with the field knowledge. So, Doug, if they're working with, let's say, a homeowner or a contractor, right, and they're just like you said, what if it's a neighbor? What if it's your family? What if it's a friend? And they're saying, I just don't know what finish to put on my floor. Like, what are the key things that instantly come to you that say, okay, here's what I would suggest on your floor, and you can pick any scenario you like.
Well, I think you need to take a look at, the type of wood it is. I think different woods look better with different finishes. What's the use going to be, and what's your commitment to it? A house that you're flipping is probably going to get a different treatment than, your forever home. So there's a finish and a price point of finish for every floor out there. And we can provide them all.
Either of you from the field that you're in, when people are looking at finishes, okay, and we're talking about hardwood flooring, are there any misconceptions? I hear a lot of crazy stuff, but when people are looking at choosing or buying, or they've been in the field for decades, what are the misconceptions people have about finishes?
So I think probably one of the biggest things is, well, there's a couple of different things. That all finishes or good finishes are indestructible. There is no indestructible finish out there. And a lot of that is based on wood. In my personal house, I have a beautiful walnut staircase that has 4 coats of our moisture cure on it. That moisture cure is flawless. The wood dented.
Exactly.
There was nothing wrong with the coating. And so I think you have to look at both things. Likewise, you can't have a dog that you never trim his nails and play fetch with a tennis ball in a house and expect that your floors will never scratch. So I think would you play fetch, back to your other point, would you play fetch with your German Shepherd on top of your grand piano? Probably not.
You could say what you want about finishes. They typically won't be gouged or damaged by pet nails, etc., but the wood can be. I've had a birch floor dug right out. The finish didn't break one bit, but the floor was indented. So you make a really good point, this conception that even going back to moisture cure, well, if I put that on, my floor will be indestructible. Nah, that doesn't happen. The other thing is,
and I use this a lot. One of the last jobs I did before getting into this world was a customer. He had floors and he'd had a dog and the dog tore him up. He didn't want them refinished. He wanted them replaced because the wood was gouged. And, it's customers need to be better educated, because he was told he had teak floors and I was willing to take him out for free and replace them because it's teak. I go down there and I said, you don't have teak floors. He had acacia. I said, you have a bush. He's like, oh, no, it's teak. I'm like, how much did you pay for your floors? I can't remember. I said, was it $250,000? No, you don't have teak. And so I think there's a lot of that out there that customers think they know what they're getting and they don't. And so, but the gut reaction is to blame it on the finish. And, not all woods are created equal, as you know.
Is there any key advice that you give professionals in the industry when you meet with them?
So, I like to tell them, be humble. We're all learning every day. We're learning. I've have a lot of experience. I've done a lot of stuff, but there's not a day that I don't go to a job site that I don't learn something new. And I think we should always be in a learning mode, whether we're getting seminars, podcasts like this, staying up to date, going to NWFA training schools, going to distributor-led training schools and manufacturer-led ones. The best way to learn about, new products is talk to your rep, go to open houses at distributors. Our reps are great and knowledgeable, and they love talking to customers. And, I think it's to be open-minded and listen to what they have to say. There may be something that you haven't tried that could help you with a problem you're experiencing.
Yeah, I'm a talker. My father used to say, shut your mouth and open your ears. Got to pay attention. Laura, do you do a lot of traveling internationally? Do you have to work with that type of marketing, or are you pretty much North America?
Yeah, I'm North America right now. In my career, I've done international, but the last couple of years have been pretty much North America.
But do either of you look at the international market and say, oh, look, they're doing something a little different in Germany. They're doing a little something different in Does that you get involved in a little bit of that? Do you notice that is our market any different than, let's say, a European market?
Absolutely. So, I mean, that is definitely something we need to be aware of as we are looking to compete in the North America market. We have a lot of competitors that come from out of the North America market. So we need to make sure that we understand what is happening in other regions to know what would be coming into our market from an adoption standpoint. I also want to know if my products could help impact other areas of the world because we do export. So although we manufacture, there are people using Canlak coatings elsewhere in the world. And that's important for us to stay up on trends in those areas as well.
This has been fascinating, you guys. We don't often get manufacturers and the ability to talk on this level, especially if I do consulting. I'm involved in the chemistry and people's issues and questions, and I get to trace a lot of this back. So just talking with you on this end of things is really fun and refreshing. I'm going to bounce over to the rapid fire questions for both of you, if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to throw these at you. Are you folks ready to go? And then I'll let you escape my clutches.
Sounds good.
All right. Doug, what's the most interesting floor request, interesting, strange, anything that you've ever had to work on on a floor?
Ooh, that's a hard one because you get a lot. I would say the replacing the acacia floor. It was not weird, but it was an interesting job. They had a lot of built-in ball and claw furniture and trying to get hardwood floor out from under some of that furniture without damaging it. It was mounted furniture. So it became interesting. I think the front of the stove, which was very elaborate, took almost a whole day of chiseling, laying on my belly and chiseling up under it enough that I could get the new floor under to hide it. So
ouch.
That was an interesting one.
Laura, if you weren't in the wood flooring business, as you will be now forever, what would you be doing?
Oh, something with building engineer. I'm always building something. So I'd probably, if I'm not in the wood flooring, I'm building like an architect, building something, to then design and create.
Doug, same question. What would you be doing if you didn't get into flooring so many trillions of years ago like me?
I've always been told I have the engineer's mind. So I would probably would have been an electrical engineer. I'm also a master electrician, but I would probably go on the electrical engineer route.
If you put, Doug, one floor, one finish in your own home that you guys manufacture, you can only pick one for the top coat. What is it?
In my house, I actually have several of our coatings in our house.
Well, of course you do.
I would probably say Primero because that was actually some of the floors in my house have Primero from way back when, before I was even with a manufacturer, and they're still holding up great. And my wife is the king of high gloss. She likes high gloss. She says if I can't put my makeup on looking in the floor, it needs another coat. So
I was just going to ask Laura, in Doug's
Primero
house,
has great build quality.
when he picks the finish, would you give him gloss, satin, or semi? All right, so Laura, in your house, would you rather have gloss, satin, or semi?
Ooh, I think I'm like Doug's wife. She's got a really good point. I like it glossy.
She likes that flash.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the last question for you, and we'll go with Laura last. Doug, are there any carpets in your home, or is it just wood flooring?
All wood and tile.
Laura,
No carpets.
carpet in your home?
I have slowly replaced it all, but I have 2 bedrooms and some stairs, but they are being replaced.
Good answer. That's the answer of a CEO. That's how you answer those questions. Guys, thank you so much for your time. You've been great. You ready to go, Wayne?
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate the fun.
Thanks,
Steve.
guys. I really appreciate your time with me. Take care. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of All Things Wood Floor, brought to you by Canlak Coatings, the name behind trusted wood floor finish brands like Absco, Poloplaz, Samson, and Wilson Imperial. If you liked this episode, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to All Things Wood Floor.